Welcome back, guys, to another episode of the Pro Football Focus here on the John Check Sports Media Network, where we talk all things sports all the time. That's right, the new John Check Sports Media Network. And today on the Pro Football Focus podcast, we're going to be talking about reviewing a little bit of Week 1 while giving my Week 2 picks. Yeah, I know, the Thursday Night Football game already happened, so I can't give my thoughts on that one. I would have picked the Broncos. I have proof I picked the Broncos. I can show you guys a text I had from my football league pick'em. I actually did pick the Broncos to beat the Chiefs. So, nonetheless, let's get started off by talking about this Chiefs-Broncos game. And this game, wow, Peyton Manning came out and looked awful. Did not look good again. The Ravens last week showed a recipe for success, how you beat the Broncos, even though they lost to them. What they showed was if you attack Peyton Manning, make this guy move, which, you know, this guy is 39 years old, is not what you call a fleet of foot. Make this guy move, make him step up in the pocket, make him uncomfortable, get bodies around him. He's not gonna have success. And C.J. Anderson was not having any success last week. He didn't have any success this week. He busted off a couple of more runs than he had last week against the Ravens. Ronnie Hillman actually looked better than C.J. Anderson did last week coming out of the backfield. And Peyton Manning, yet again, got sacked multiple times. I think he's already been sacked almost 10 times in 2 weeks. He only got sacked 17 times all last year. This Broncos O-line, mind you, adjusting to a new Gary Kubiak offense, is just, they don't look the same. They don't got quite that push. You know, their O-line's not nearly as good as it was last year, and they just don't look as good. But once Peyton Manning got into the shotgun, and they were more of an up-tempo offense, and he was completing more passes, he looked a lot better. He did throw another pick six in this game. After his pick six he threw, following drive, second play of that following drive, he nearly threw another one. And there's quite a few balls in this game that he threw, 50-50 balls, that, let me tell you something, he could have had legitimately 7 interceptions this game. That is how close Peyton Manning came with some of these balls. I mean, he was really forcing it in there. He finally got his first touchdown pass of the year to Emmanuel Sanders. Emmanuel Sanders caught 2 touchdown passes this game. He also threw one to his tight end in this game as well. Demaryius Thomas had a couple of nice snags. No touchdowns on the day for him. The Broncos defense show why. If you listen to a lot of podcasts as myself and read a lot of articles, show why people are calling this the best defense in the NFL. Aqib Talib had another interception. The Broncos had a couple of big turnovers. None bigger than we're going into the fourth quarter. And Jamaal Charles, who had already fumbled the ball once in this game, and Alex Smith had 2 interceptions this game, something Alex Smith typically doesn't do. Alex Smith is usually a great game manager and a guy that, you know, he doesn't throw the ball more than 10 yards down the field, and it's mainly, you know, little check down throwdowns to Jamaal Charles, or little toss plays to Jamaal Charles. You know, they don't really stretch field much. He had a couple interceptions, which ended up costing the Chiefs this game. The Broncos were down 14-0 going into halftime, and they ended up tying it up. And going into the last 3 minutes of this game, the Broncos come back with 38 seconds to go, score a touchdown. The Chiefs get the ball back, and Andy Reid called a handoff play to Jamaal Charles. Reasonable. I mean, you can see what they're trying to do. They're not too far out of field goal range. You know, they're running the ball, trying to be conservative. You know, if they don't make it into the field goal range, fine. They run down the clock. They play for the field goal. It is what it is. But Jamaal Charles fumbled the ball again. Broncos recovered it and scored. And Jamaal Charles was just devastated. He was deflated. You could see him on the sideline. He whips his helmet. He held onto it smartly because the thing would have bounced back and hit him straight in the face if he didn't. And, you know, it was a loss that you couldn't believe that happened. So, you know, turnovers, you know, just bit them in the butt. But if you are, you know, watching the Broncos, you still got to be worried. Yes, that defense looks great. Peyton Manning looked better at times, but he's still, you know, he's throwing ducks out there. There's really no zip on the ball. Even though Peyton Manning was never a guy that had, you know, the strongest arm, you know, he was not Brett Favre in it throwing rocket balls out there. But, you know, you still saw the 50-50 balls that easily could have been picks. You know, the offense still, you got to be concerned about the running game. You know, that has not been good for the Broncos. So there's still a lot of areas of concern if you're a Denver Broncos fan. Now let's move on into the rest of Week 2 picks. The Lions traveled to Minnesota here, and the Lions blew a 21-3 start to their game against the Chargers. They came out, scored on the first drive, 8 plays, 80 yards. Amir Abdullah had a nice run. He broke out this game, looked really good. Him and Melvin Gordon, two really high draft pick, or two highly touted rookie running backs. Excuse me, these two guys. Gordon, he started out good, but he was held to 50 yards. Abdullah looked a little bit better than he did. they came out. Calvin Johnson had a catch on the first drive. And it's like, wow, the Lions offense looks great. 21-3 before you know it. And then all of a sudden, Phillip Rivers throws a pick six, throws another interception, and you're like, man, it's 21-3. And all of a sudden, Phillip Rivers keeps coming back. And this is something you heard all day against the Lions and Chargers. Rivers to Allen. Rivers to Allen. Darius Slay was shredded, destroyed, mutilated, whatever adjective you want to think of. He did it to Darius Slay. Keenan Allen was filthy, had a huge game, over 150 yards, destroyed the Lions, and the Lions blew a 21-3 lead and ended up losing the game. So that was a huge loss for them, deflating loss. They only got Calvin Johnson the ball 4 times. They targeted him 4 times in 40 plays. Unacceptable. And Golden Tate screws my fantasy team over by dropping a ball he should have caught in the end zone. Stafford led him a little too far into the defender. It was almost an interception in the end zone. So it bummed me out a little bit. I needed them fantasy points. I needed them points to win. I get extra bonuses. I score the most points in the league. I'm a greedy guy. I won my league last week, but I want the most points in the league. I'm greedy. I'll admit it. It's all good. So, but you're a Lions fan, that's a bad loss. It's a game you can't lose, and you shouldn't lose. 21-3, your defense, you already lost Sue. You replace him with Haloti Ngata. You already got questions. Your secondary still has questions. You're without DeAndre Levy, and, when you blow a 21-3 lead, that ain't helping answer, quiet the doubters whatsoever. So, bad loss. So the Lions travel to Minnesota, where Minnesota looked awful against the 49ers on Monday Night Football. They gave AP the ball 10 times. That was it. In my last video, in episode 2, I made a bold prediction that, AP wouldn't get 100 yards. He won up me. He didn't get 50. He looked terrible. He had a couple of good runs, but he just did not look that good. But they're traveling home, They're going to feed the rock to AP more this game. And, I'm interested to see how Bridgewater looked because he didn't look that great, at times against the 49ers. The 49ers won the game easily. And, I'm really interested to see how Amir Abdullah does because Carlos Hyde puts up those kind of numbers on that Vikings defense. Or not Vikings defense, but, on the Vikings defense. I'm interested to see what Amir Abdullah does. So, I'm going to take... This is hard, but I'm going to take the Vikings to take this one at home. You blow a game 21-3. I can't go to pick you again, on the road. I'm sorry. Your defense, prove it to me. Prove it to me you're still a good defense. I'm taking AP to have a breakout game. Vikings take this one. Game, Texans at Panthers. Panthers beat up on a bad Jags team last week. Blake Bortles, again, looks good in the preseason, comes out, doesn't look that good at all against the Panthers. Texans got destroyed by the Chiefs last week. Kelsey put up a big game. He had a couple of touchdowns. Jamal Charles had a nice game. So the Texans defense, even with Jamal Charles and Jadeveon Clowney and Brian Cushing, they didn't look amazing. J.J. Watt had a great game, as always. So it's going to be interesting to see. Cam Newton throwing to a bunch of nobodies, and you got Jonathan Stewart running the ball and Fozzie Whitaker. It's not like he's got a lot of weapons on offense. I think J.J. Watt's going to have a big game this game, and I think the Texans start out, I think this is where they get their first win of the season. I think, with a deflated Panthers offense, as long as Ryan Mallett, who... he better not struggle because Hoyer didn't even survive a whole game before Bill O'Brien made the switch to Ryan Mallett. So he wasn't joking when he was talking about in Hard Knocks that, the leash is short. He expects success. So he wasn't kidding around. So Ryan Mallett, the ball's in your court, buddy, and if you're going to continue to be the Texans quarterback, you cannot go out there and turn the ball over. And Brian Hoyer was obviously disappointed. He even came out and said that he let the organization down. And if Ryan Mallett is going to pull... a Brett Favre, Don Majkowski type thing. He needs to come out and have a good game against the Panthers. And, they have no Luke Kuechly. So it'd be a good week for him to try and do that. So I'm taking the Texans to beat the Panthers. And then we got 49ers at Steelers. Carlos Hyde. Whew. He had a nasty run before halftime against the 49ers where he hit this, hit like you're playing Madden 16 and he hit the B button and just spinned. And then one of the nastiest spin moves made this guy miss and ran for an easy touchdown. He was filthy. He was filthy. I mean, his rushing performance was dominating. The 49ers and Vikings actually started off this game. It was a terrible start to the game. They were both making, the offenses look awful. It was bad football, and all of a sudden Carlos Hyde took over, and the 49ers looked great the rest of the way through. And the Steelers, they had to face New England in New England, and D'Angelo Williams had a great game, but now they're I think they're getting back. They get Le'Veon Bell back next week. Excuse me. But Antonio Bryant and Darius Hayward-Bay and Marcus Wheaton. They got a nice trio of wide receivers out there. They still only got Bryant back yet. But D'Angelo Williams looked great last week. So I'm interested to see how they go up against a 49ers defense that looked better than I thought. But who knows? How legitimate that was going up against a Vikings team that only fed AP the ball 10 times. So it's going to be the battle of the running backs in this game, Williams and Hyde. And I'm going to take the Steelers to win at home. I like the home field advantage for the Steelers. I like what D'Angelo Williams did. And Antonio Brown is better than anyone that the 49ers have on offense from a wide receiver standpoint. So that's what puts me over the top to pick the Steelers. Bucks at Saints. This is an easy one. Jameis Winston looked awful last week. He got destroyed. Fun fact, Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston each threw a touchdown pass to a Titans player for their first touchdown pass. Jameis Winston looked bad. First throw ever was a pick six. Same thing as Brett Favre happened to him. And, Austin Seferian-Jenkins had a great game last week. But that's about it. So, and the Bucs don't play good in New Orleans, and Drew Brees is going to feast on this game. So, you got Brandon Cooks in fantasy, you better start him. The Saints are winning this game easy. We got Cardinals at Bears. This is going to be a great game. Andre Ellington is out, so CJ2K is going to be getting the ball. Probably some David Johnson as well is going to be getting the ball. Carson Palmer looked great last week against New Orleans. That offense looked really good, and their defense looked good too. So, against the Chicago Bears team, that if they're going to win this game at Soldier Field, Matt Forte is going to have to replicate what he did last week against the Green Bay Packers, where he had a monster week on the ground. And, they're going to have to keep the ball out of Jay Cutler's hands because last week, when Forte was running the ball a lot and Jay Cutler didn't have to throw the ball, they were keeping up with the Packers. They made an interesting game. Watching it, I was pretty scared, because they couldn't stop Matt Forte. And then all of a sudden, they got down enough to where Cutler started to have to throw the ball. And, he Jay Cutlered the game. Clay Matthews got a pick and pretty much sealed the deal. So if the Bears are going to win this game, they got to have Forte have another good week, and Cutler's got to be careful with the ball. Simple as that. And but it's going to be hard with a outstanding Cardinals defense. So I'm taking the Cardinals to win this one at Soldier Field. Then we got Pats Bills. Awesome game. This is one that you don't have it on TV. You need to go out on the internet and find a stream because Rex Ryan has been talking all week about how he respects Brady, but he doesn't fear him. Tyrod Taylor and Percy Harvin looked awesome last week. Sean McCoy might not play in this game, so you got that. But I'm really interested to see. Tyrod Taylor was playing ahead, the whole game, because they were shutting out the Colts to the third quarter. So, they really didn't have to force the issue. They didn't have to make Tyrod Taylor throw a lot because he wasn't playing from behind because the Bills' defense is so good. But I'm interested to see, can the Bills' defense stop Rob Gronkowski? If you go with the Steelers' approach where you put a linebacker on him that doesn't stand a chance, who's way too slow and has not even any kind of, comparison in height, it's going to be interesting to see. They're going to put two linebackers on him, or are they going to jam, put a couple guys on him at the line and jam at the line to try to slow him down? How are they going to stop Gronk? And if they do that, is it going to open up the door for Amendola? Is it going to open up the door for Edelman? And then they're getting back LeGarrette Blount. So this is going to be a very interesting game. Can the Bills stop all the offensive weapons that the Patriots have? Now, I know the Colts have a lot of offensive weapons. They did a nice job stopping Hilton and Andre Johnson and Frank Gore. They did a great job of it, even though Dante Moncrief had a pretty good game. But how are they going to stop Brady and the Patriots? Rex Ryan's only beat Brady 3 times in his entire coaching career. So I'm interested to see how this goes out. I'm going to pick the Patriots. I just think Gronk and Brady is just too much. And they have too many weapons. Deion Lewis and LeGarrette Blount and Rob Gronkowski and Julian Edelman. Their defense isn't that great. But I'm interested to see if the Pats go up, how does Tyrod Taylor react to playing from behind? How is he going to react to when he has to throw the ball? How is he going to react when he has to keep up? He's not playing ahead. He doesn't have a cushion. He doesn't have a defense out there keeping him, keeping the other team in check. But I think Brady's going to put up some points this game. So that is what I'm interested to see how he adjusts, how the league adjusts to him week 2. But I am taking Brady to beat the Bills in New York. So Chargers at Bengals. This is an interesting game because the Chargers, like I said, they're coming off a big win against the Lions, and the Bengals. Jeremy Hill had a pretty good week last week in Cincinnati's win. So, the Bengals played pretty good at home, and the Chargers, Philip Rivers turns over the ball a lot. He had a couple of bad picks last week, one of them being a pick six. You can't expect to be down 21-3 and win all the time. I think Philip Rivers only had one win in his entire career while trailing by 21 points or more. I believe that was the stat. So it's going to be interesting to see. Can Keenan Allen replicate his performance? And how is Melvin Gordon going to do? So this one is a battle of the running backs to me. How's Melvin Gordon going to do in his second game of the year against Jeremy Hill? How's A.J. Green going to be? So you got to watch out for Eifert, because Eifert had a great game last week. This guy, finally healthy this year, looked outstanding in week 1. So I'm going to take the Bengals at home to beat the Chargers, because the Chargers defense, they settled down and they stopped the lines last week, but Matthew Stafford aided that a lot. He didn't look good at all in the second half, and I think if he even had a semi-decent second half, the Lions still beat the Chargers. So I'm going to take the Bengals to win this one at home, because I like the Bengals defense, and I like Eifert, A.J. Green, and the combination of Jeremy Hill. I think, if they get a lead, they're not going to blow it like the Lions will. Titans at Browns. What an awful game. Marcus Mariota was the first rookie ever to have 4 touchdowns before the half, ever. And, Bishop Sankey had a career game. He had a career high in rushing yards, a TD. This week, Josh McCown, last week he got hurt, so Johnny Manziel took over against the Jets. First drive, he throws this dime to Benjamin. And I'm like, wow, because I like Johnny Manziel. Not a lot of people like Johnny Manziel. They think he's cocky. But me, I like Johnny football. The guy has a flair. When he did all the money sign stuff, people thought he was cocky. He was hotty-totty, blah, blah, blah. But I like Johnny Manziel. I know he's undersized. I know he's had a hard time passing in the pocket. But I see stuff in this guy. He's fun. He's exciting. He brings flair to a game. He's running around. He's chucking the ball. He's dodging defenders. But he does have his downsides. He's undersized. There's a lot of questions. Can he see within the pocket over linemen? He's reckless with the football. He turns the ball over a lot. And if the Johnny Manziel era in Cleveland is ever going to begin, this is the week he has to start. Because he can't keep going out there having brutal interceptions. He can't keep fumbling the ball when he runs. So, I think if they get Johnny Manziel moving around in the pocket, get him some bootlegs so he can run out of the pocket and scramble where he's comfortable when he's on the move and throwing, I think that's where they'll be all right. But they got to protect this kid. They got to let him run his style of offense, but he's got to protect the football. Now, if you're the Titans, you're coming off an easy win against the Bucs against a bad defensive team. The Browns really aren't too much better defensively, So this might be a game where Bishop Sankey has another good game on the ground, and Marcus Mariota has another good game throwing the ball through the air. So this one's a hard, it's the battle of the crappy teams, because who can buy into the Titans. But I'm going to take the Browns to win at home. I think Manziel has a good game this week, and I think he better have a good game, or, I don't know how many more chances they're going to keep giving Johnny Manziel to come out and prove that he can be the guy to lead Cleveland into a new era. So I'm taking Johnny football to win this game. I think if they let him run his style of offense, make him move, get him comfortable, running his style of his offense, I think they'll be all right, even though they really don't have that many great options there for Johnny Manziel to throw the ball to. Falcons at Giants, and this is a great game. Julio Jones last week shredded the Eagles, absolutely mopped the floor with them. The boy had 9 catches for 141 yards, 2 touchdowns. Destroyed them, looked like a man amongst boys. And then last week, the Giants absolutely blew a game to the Dallas Cowboys. Eli Manning, on a 3rd and goal with 1:30 to go, instead of taking a sack, throws the ball out of the back of the end zone. Now, the first 2 plays, they handed the ball off to Rashad Jennings, but Eli Manning told Rashad Jennings not to score because he didn't know didn't realize how much time was left, and didn't think the Cowboys had any timeouts left. But what I don't get is if the Giants score, the Cowboys, no matter how much time's left or how many timeouts left, they'd have no shot to win because they would be down over 10 with 1.5 to go. So, apparently Eli Manning doesn't know basic math. So, Rashad Jennings came out and said he was told not to score. That was kind of a move he should have never made. He should have kept that to himself. He did apologize to the organization. Eli Manning came out and owned up to it, so he's lucky. He should have never said anything. That was kind of, I didn't agree with that move. But this is a good game, And you know something? I'm going to take the Falcons to upset the. I don't know if you can call it upset, but I'm going to take the Falcons to beat the Giants at home because the Giants secondary isn't amazing either, and Julio Jones is awesome, and I really like Coleman, the running back for the Falcons, so I like him as well. What he brings. So I'm going to take the Falcons to beat the Giants at home, but if the Giants have a lead late and they have a chance to score to put the game away, Eli Manning, you better let your players score and not act like an idiot because that was a brutal loss, a game the Cowboys should have never won. Rams at Redskins. I don't even need to talk about this game. Rams beat the Seahawks at home because the Seahawks in overtime decided to finally run the ball on a 4th down and Marshawn Lynch was stuffed. So, Redskins playing the Dolphins, and they're trolling everyone like, hey, we're going to finally win a game. We're going to start out 1-0. And then Kirk Cousins was like, nope. And the Dolphins beat the Redskins, and the Rams are going to beat the Redskins this week. So, yeah, Redskins aren't good. Kirk Cousins is good. Maybe they'll let their scout team safety play quarterback. Probably not, though. So, Dolphins at Jaguars. What a boring game. Jaguars, they're not very good. I don't care what anyone says about Blake Bortles, how good his preseason was. They're a young team with some young players, you know, that people like their core for the future, but they didn't look good last week. And the Dolphins, awesome defense. And, you know, Ryan Tannehill didn't look amazing, but he's going to look amazing against the Jags defense. The Dolphins take this game easy. Ravens at Raiders. No Matt McGloin's going to be starting. No, I know all you Raider fans were hoping for that. Derek Carr will be back under center. Amari Cooper didn't have a great NFL debut last week, so who knows how he does. Latavius Murray, you know, he wasn't amazing either in his debut last week. And against the Ravens team that absolutely destroyed C.J. Anderson and made the Broncos offense with C.J. Anderson and Peyton Manning. I'm crossing people up. I'm creating new football players. You know, made them look awful even though they lost. The Raiders don't stand a chance in hell in this game. So sorry, people in the black hole. You are not going to see a good game. This is a hard one. Cowboys at Eagles. Because here's the thing. Cowboys got three decent running backs who rushed didn't do too bad of a job last week. You know, Jace Witten has always played pretty well against the Eagles. The Cowboys secondary is not great. You know, Nelson Aguilar didn't do much in his debut, but Jordan Matthews looked pretty good. How's DeMarco Murray going to look against his former squad? It's one of those games, like a show-me kind of game, you know, if you're DeMarco Murray trying to prove these guys, you know, hey, you screwed up, you should have brought me back. And, you know, so this is a hard one. But the Cowboys have won 4 of the 5 last games played in Lincoln Financial Field. So I'm torn on this one. But, you know, the Eagles made a pretty good comeback against the Falcons. We're actually leading at one point in that game. You know, I think with the lack of the Cowboys secondary, Aguilar has a better game. Jordan Matthews looks good. And I think DeMarco Murray has a good game too. And there's no Dez Bryant, even though Terrence Williams is probably going to have a nice game because the Eagles secondary isn't good either. Just ask Julio Jones about that one. So I'm actually going to take, though, the Eagles' up-tempo offense. I like what I saw, you know, after they finally got into rhythm and Sam Bradford stopped, you know, trying to throw interceptions. You know, I'm going to take Chip Kelly's offense to outlast a not great Cowboys defense. So, as Joseph Zamparelli, or the Zompster, says on YouTube, I don't know why I like watching Eagles guys. I don't know if there's just something about Philly video makers on YouTube. But this guy is amazing. I absolutely love his video. He always goes, how about those birds, baby? So how about those birds? They are going to get a win this week, and they're going to end the Cowboys winning streak at Lincoln Financial. And then we got Seahawks-Packers. This is going to be a great game. Battle of the NFC rematch. Championship rematch game. Packers lost Sam Barrington this week. They have no Brian Bulaga. So that means Jake Ryan might be getting some time at inside linebacker. Clay Matthews is going to have to play some more time at inside linebacker, so that leaves the outside. Luckily, you know, J-Pep is, you know, you still got Jay Peppers and you got Nick Perry out there. So, but Sam Barrington was a good, you know, he's a big piece. Morgan Burnett might be playing, so, you know, I'd be a big piece because we need him out there free safety. But the Packers absolutely get it done at home. They do. You know, the Packers, I think, have only lost to like 3 times in the last 2 years. Aaron Rodgers hasn't thrown a pick there in 3 years. They just win Ask the Patriots coming into Lambeau Field last year. They just win. And they should have beat the Seahawks last year in Seattle. Russell Wilson was terrible. Their kicker had as many touchdown passes as Russell Wilson did in regulation. It just brings my blood to a boil that Brandon Bostic muffs that onside kick recovery. And then Clinton Dix, after having 2 interceptions in that game, just watches the ball on that miracle 2-point conversion. It just, and every time the Packers play in Seattle, there's something with it. The Fail Mary a couple years ago, and then the game last year in the NFC Championship game. It just, I don't know. There's bad karma when the Packers play there, but they're playing at Lambeau. They don't lose at Lambeau, ever. And I think this is the game with no Cam Chancellor. This is the game the Packers take advantage of them not having Cam Chancellor. And this is why they will win this game. Because Chancellor isn't going to play. He's still holding out. And it's hurting their secondary. Eddie Lacy, he's going to have a hard time running on that defense because they're a good defense. But James Jones already came back, and he looked like, he didn't miss a beat with Aaron Rodgers. And Randall Cobb didn't do much, but he's healthier this week. And you still got Devontae Adams out there, and you still got Richard Rodgers. So, I love, even with the Abraham Bulaga, that hurts, not having him and not having Sam Barrington. I still say the Packers get this done at home because they are a great home team and they don't lose at Lambeau. So the Packers are going to get this done. And awesome. Everyone needs to watch this game because it's going to be an amazing game. Then, Monday Night Football is the Jets at Colts. Now, this is a great game, too, because the Colts were stopped by another New York team, Buffalo. They looked awful against them, just terrible. The Jets, had a great game. Mind you, it was against Johnny Manziel / Josh McCown. Not really, 2 dangerous pieces on offense. So I'm going to be interested to see how the Jets, go up against a Colts team at home, that was shut down, is looking to come out and prove, hey, we can play. We can play with anyone. We can get this done. We have a good offense. We got Andre Johnson. T.Y. Hilton might be playing it. Dante Moncrief and Frank Gore. They have a good team. Their defense is suspect to me. But that remains to be seen. And the Jets' offense looked a lot better, with someone not named Geno Smith running it. Ryan Fitzpatrick did a great job. Decker looked good. Brandon Marshall looked good. Chris Ivory looked awesome. So the Jets have a pretty underrated offensive attack. Not a lot of people talk about them because you had Geno Smith and Mike Vick and Mark Sanchez all running the show there for a little while. Now you got a quarterback that's not too brutally bad. He's adequate enough to get, protect the football and get the ball out and score some points. But I think the Colts at home, they're going to get this done. There's no way the Colts fall to 0-2. I just don't see them losing at home. I think this is the week they come out and make a statement that they can play, even against a good defense. So I'm taking the Colts at home. So let's move on to a segment I'm calling 4 Down Territory, where I have 4 quick takes about issues in the NFL here. And first down is, let Peyton Manning run the offense, Gary Kubiak. Screw your offensive, this offense you're trying to run. As soon as Peyton Manning went in the shotgun and they were running a more up-tempo offense and they weren't trying to force C.J. Anderson to run the ball, they were mixing it in a little bit more with pass, it looked so much better. Absolutely so much better. The tempo was better. Peyton Manning's crispness his crispness on his throws was better. His timing of his receivers were better. You can't sit here and force, this guy into your offensive scheme. You can't. You got to let him do what has made Peyton Manning. Not a great, a great start, for Gary Kubiak, Peyton Manning. They're still trying to learn this offense, and I think that's why their offensive line's been so bad too. But you got to let Peyton Manning run this offense, Gary Kubiak. Second down, pay Cam Chancellor already, Seattle Seahawks. You lost a game because of not having Cam Chancellor. The guy that burned the Seahawks for the game-time touchdown was the guy Cam Chancellor would have been covering. Their defense is not nearly as good without Cam Chancellor out there. Richard Sherman, he's good, but he's not nearly as good without Cam Chancellor out there. Earl Thomas isn't nearly as good without Cam Chancellor out there. They have to have Cam Chancellor out there. I don't know how many interviews, how many NFL Network segments I've saw with players, Michael Robinson saying that he is the veteran voice. He is the straw that stirs the drink for the Seattle defense. And we saw it against St. Louis. You have to pay him. All he's asking for is next year's money roll over to this year. A couple of $900,000. I know it's a lot of money to you or I, but in NFL terms, that's chump change. Pay the man already. Third down. Vikings, you have to give AP the ball 10 times in his debut. And you know, what did you expect? He didn't even play a preseason game. And for him to come out and lay a dud, and then after the game, you're like, oh yeah, you know, we probably should have gave him the ball more and blah, blah, blah. And no, don't make any excuses. When you got a young quarterback in Teddy Bridgewater, and you got, you know, your offense is going to be different this year because you have AP. You know, Bridgewater isn't, you know, having to pass as much, you know, relying on Matt Asiata. No. You got AP back. Give this man the ball 20, 25 times. Let him see what he can do. That's why you get obliterated by the 49ers. Let AP run the ball, man. Awful coaching by the Vikings there. Fourth down. How about the rookie running back class this year? Who do you guys think, out of everyone drafted, your Melvin Gordons, your Todd Gurleys, your Abdullahs, who do you think is the best running back that is going to come out of this running back class? You know, a couple years ago, or last year was the year of the receivers. You know, guys like Mike Evans and Calvin Benjamin and Marquise Lee, all these dudes that got drafted last year. Who do you think out of this running back core that got drafted this year is going to be the best running back, make the biggest impact this year in the NFL? If I'm picking, it's Ameer Abdullah. I hate the Lions, but that boy is explosive. His cuts, his elusiveness, I loved what I saw from Ameer Abdullah, so he's going to be my guy to make the biggest impact. And then we're going to wrap up the Pro Football Focus podcast here with the Fantasy Minute, where I give you guys 5 starters and 5 guys you need to sit. So here is your Fantasy Minute. Who you should start. Bishop Sankey. He's going up against Cleveland. He had 70 yards last week. He's going to easily surpass that this week. James Jones. 2 touchdowns. Would have had a third. He's going to have a good week this week. Carson Palmer. He's playing the Bears. Ask Aaron Rodgers about playing the Bears and wide receivers. Tevin Coleman looked great last week. He's a starter for me. Sit. Devontae Adams. I'm sorry. James Jones is nothing but a huge block for you Devontae Adams owners. He was supposed to have a big year, but James Jones, he's going to take away some of his targets. Cam Newton. He has no one to throw the ball to. Sit him. Dion Lewis. Getting back LeGarrette Blount. Bill Belichick's weird with his offense. I wouldn't start Dion Lewis this week. Jets defense. I think Andrew Luck is going to have a big week. So I wouldn't start the Jets defense. And last but not least, Alshon Jeffrey. The boy is hurt, and you know he didn't look that good at all against the Packers last week. I am sitting him until he is healthy. There's a lot of wide receivers out on the waiver wires you can get. So that is going to wrap up Pro Football Focus for this week. I will be back. From now on, it's going to be 2 podcasts a week. I'm going to do one on Wednesday, and I'm going to do one on Saturday. Wednesday, previewing the Thursday night football game and any news in the NFL, and then Saturday with all the rest of my week's picks. So that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you enjoyed the Pro Football Focus here on the John Check Sports Media Network, where I talk about all things sports all the time. Here for you guys, giving you guys the best information and breaking down as much as I can. Watch out for Baseball Banter. It should be up either today or tomorrow. Have a good one, guys. Hope you enjoyed the podcast.